Patricio Pitbull has made some major headlines over the last couple of days. He called out Volkanovski and Khabib. Now, the reason he's covering two weight classes is he is currently a two weight class champion in Bellator. So he calls them both out and he tells Dana White, I can beat either one of these guys. I'll bet you $1,000,000 I can beat either one of those guys. Now, there's a couple of things at play here. This was a very cool move. It was a cool move because he's not asking for an easy night. He's asking for Volkanovski. He's asking for Khabib. So there's no bully in this whole thing. And the other side of it, if you want to get Dana's attention, use the word bet. Okay, now I'm not saying you're going to get what you want. There's no scenario where Dana's going to take the young man's money. But Dana's going to see the headline. I mean, he used the right three letters here when he said bet. He told a gambler, I will bet you. He told a gambler who likes fighting the two things that he likes. And if he wanted to hit the trifecta, he would have invoked like Run DMC. There's no other three things that's going to get Dana's attention more. So, and I got to tell you one thing on Pitbull. He's better than I knew he was. I mean, Pitbull was going through Bellator, and he's going through these two different divisions. He's doing a great job, and he's beating everybody, but he was doing it so handily that my reaction as a viewer was to dismiss his opponents instead of to recognize his greatness. And then he beats Michael Chandler, and I go, oh, okay, now I get it. But I've done that before. I've done that before as a fan. I'll go back to John Jones. John Jones would go and fight, and I would always watch John Jones fights with Gilbert Melendez. We'd be at Sports Center, and we're going to pop on and cover it when he's done. And Gilbert and I would always look at each other and go, man, this guy is something else. This guy's getting better. This guy's so far ahead of everybody, and he's getting better. I'm not going to forget this. I always forget it. He fights every 4 or 5 months. 4 or 5 months goes by. I forget how great he is. Every time he's going to fight, well, I think this guy can beat him. I think this is the one. And Gilbert and I would have this conversation, and we go, okay, let's never do that again because we look like fools. Let's never go on TV and pick against him. Let's never visit privately and think, oh, this guy's going to. We need to remember how great he is. 4 or 5 months later, we'd be making a case for the opponent again. 4 or 5 months later, we'd be making a case for the opponent again. And it's one of those things where sometimes when you're so good, it doesn't always get viewed that way. You look at it. I'm wondering if you guys do that. I wonder if you ever do that where somebody is just so good or so dominant. Amanda Nunes, in many ways, just as an example, moves up to 145, takes on Cyborg. Now, I realize in hindsight, you know what you know, but to take you back to fight night, Amanda was a 2-1 underdog. 2-1, and that line got better. She started at a 2.5. So, and it was kind of just an imposing factor. Like, there's very few people who have the stature alone to match up with Cyborg. Cyborg could use all her skills, or she just grab you and throw you down and beat you up. She's just imposing. When you put that in conjunction with the fact that Amanda was moving up a weight class, you go, well, this is real lot. You got a 35-pounder. Of course, she's not going to be big enough just to deal with the strength. So I bring that up because Amanda did so well and so quickly at what Cyborg does best that it was that's a very easy rematch to make for me. It was very easy to look at that and just go, well, she got caught. That might even be right. Perhaps Cyborg did just get caught. But that's a real thing. In wrestling, I will see it a lot. There's a huge match that's coming up in wrestling. Jordan Burroughs versus Kyle Dake. That's expected to happen. And they've had some very tight matches. They've had controversial matches. They've had back and forth. Dake's got his hand raised before. But they've also had matches where one match specifically, Jordan went out, took him down, leg laced him, and teched him in 44 seconds. And it was such a beating that was so fast, that was so hard to believe what you just saw, that you just didn't. You just blocked it from your bubble. He just throw that one out. How do you throw it out? It happened. They shook hands, walked out there, followed the rules, and Jordan was done 44 seconds later with 11 points against none. That happened. But it's a real thing in sport where every now and then there's just a beating that is so unexplainable. I could go back. I was in 6th grade when Mike Tyson fought Spinks. Biggest boxing fight of all times in terms of dollars. Tyson was guaranteed $30 million. And that not only broke the record of any boxing, it smashed it. Say like the highest fight ever was 11 million or maybe even 8 million. I mean, it smashed it. Spinks had never lost. I believe he was an Olympic champion. There's 2 Spinks. I know Leon won the Olympics, but I think Michael did too. Point is, he was great. And the whole fight was 91 seconds. That involved within those 91 seconds, 3 knockdowns, 2 standing 8 counts, and 1 that got all the way to 10. So you total that up, but an 8 and a 10 is never 8 or 10. 10's more like 13, 8's more like 9.5. All of that happened within 91 seconds. Spinks walked away. Spinks never fought again. He retired a couple time, world champion a couple time, different weights. His record was like 31-0 going into the fight, 31-1. Not only did he never fight again, you don't even hear from Spinks. He was one of these guys kind of like Marvelous Marvin Hagler. People were very interested in him, would very much like to hear from him, but nope. That was a chapter of my life. Close the book. Moving on to something else. Very interesting when that happens. Very interesting psychology from the fan. But Pitbull for many years was almost plagued with that. Pitbull was so good and so dominant. Pitbull's not out of his lane here. He's got a couple of belts and nobody that's making him break a sweat. For him to call out anybody he wants, good for Pitbull. For him to bring up a fight in conjunction with a bet to Dana White, good job, Pitbull.